here at the church in Wortley and Farnley. We're in the middle of our Vision and Generosity series, looking at where we've come from with our benefactor service a couple of Sundays ago, giving thanks for everybody who has given to the life and work of the church, who have gone before us. 2 Sundays ago, we had our Vision Sunday, where we shared where we think God is calling us to go as a church, with the overriding words of "You are welcome." We believe that God is inviting us into his presence. He's welcoming us into his presence through the death and resurrection of his son, Jesus. But he's also saying, you are welcome to our wider community, those who live in our parish, those who live around us, those who are in our locality, those who we live next to, those who we shop next to, those who we work next to. And this Sunday, just gone, we had our pledge, our generosity Sunday, where Denise shared a wonderful message about how God has called us to be generous, with the fantastic phrase that she quoted from a book: the source of generosity is not the purse, but it is the heart. The source of generosity is not the purse, but it is the heart. And so we are thinking about ways in which we can be generous. And we've got 3 areas which I think we're called to be generous with: our time, our expertise, and our money. Money, of course, is the most difficult to talk about. But this afternoon, I want to think about how we can be generous with our time. Maybe you're part of this church community. You would consider yourself a part of the church. Maybe you wouldn't consider yourself part of the church. We can all be generous with our time towards the church and the wonderful community and the events that this church runs. There are so many ways that you can be generous towards the church with your time. One of the best ways, if you feel lonely, one of the best ways to get to know people is to serve alongside them, to do something with other people. It's as we serve shoulder to shoulder that we get to know others in a really relaxed, friendly, chilled out environment, where the pressure isn't sort of in a 15-minute chat over coffee after a service, or when the kids are running around like mad if you come to Toddlers, but in an environment where you're doing the same thing together, but you're serving together. And so I've just been thinking of a few ways that if you think that God is calling you to be generous with your time, that you can respond to that. So God might be calling you to be generous with your time and join the toddler team. We have toddlers on Monday and Thursday mornings, and it takes time to set up the toys, to make sure the place is a welcoming environment, to serve teas and coffees, to take registration forms, and to be there as a friendly face for those mums and dads and grannies and granddads and carers who come along to toddlers. So maybe you can be generous with your time and join the toddler team. Maybe you can be generous with your time and join the cleaning team. Our church gets dirty like everybody else's space, and we need people who are dedicated to that space. Come and give up their time to help clean, dust, hoover. It's not hugely dirty. It's mainly dust. And the odd leaflet that gets knocked on the floor. So if you're able to help with that, would you be generous with your time? Maybe you're more of a painter or decorator. Well, we've got some plans for redecorating the toilets in the hall and things like that. So if you have time to spare, would you help us decorate in the future? Maybe you prefer being outdoors. Well, why not join the gardening team? Every Tuesday morning, Graham and his faithful band of merry men go and do some gardening in the graveyard, because it's a wonderful community space that we've got that lots of people use to walk their dogs in, to keep it safe and accessible. Carol tends to the plants out the front. There's the children's garden as well. Maybe you can give your time to the gardening team. Maybe sitting down and doing something methodical is more the way that you would give your time. Well, you could join our cash counting team. We need people to count the money that is given into the collection plate on Sundays, and the money that is donated for toddler group or for the coffee mornings or things like that. We need people who are good at methodical work. And so would you consider joining the cash counting team? Maybe you have got, maybe you can't give up so much time on such a regular basis, but we run Messy Church, which happens maybe 4 or 5 times a year on a Saturday afternoon. Could you give your time to help run a table, help impact the lives of a child or a young person in our parish? It's a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon every other month or slightly less than that. So do join in with that. Or maybe you could get to church a little bit early on a Sunday, just before the 9 o'clock service, and be one of the welcomers. Be someone around, a friendly face to say hi and to welcome all those who are coming in. Maybe you could give some time to serve one of our outreach events, the Light Stop that was so fantastic at Halloween, Driving Carols that happens at Christmas, or the Christmas and Summer Fair. Or maybe you've got an idea for an outreach event that you would love to spearhead. Would you consider being generous with your time for that? So many different ways to be generous with your time. And so if you joined us on Sunday, you were given one of these pledge cards to write down your pledge, what you're going to be generous with this year towards the church. And so hopefully that's given you a few ideas of ways that you can pledge to be generous with your time. If you haven't got one of these and you're on our email newsletter, then you will get, this will be attached in the newsletter this Friday, or we'll also upload this into the photos on Facebook. So do download it and print it out. And if you're around on Sunday, bring it with you with your pledge for the coming year, how God is calling you to be generous with your time, your money, and your expertise. If you aren't part of our church community, then just allow this to wash over you. We want to welcome everybody in, no strings attached. So please don't feel like you have to come along with a filled out pledge card on Sunday. We want to welcome you, but part of being welcomed into God's presence is that he changes our priorities, he changes what we care about, he changes where we want to make sacrifices, and so we commit to the church. Wonderful, thanks for watching. I do hope that's given you some ideas about how to be generous with your time this coming year.